Want to shut down a narcissist without saying a single word? Believe me, you can. And it's the most powerful move you'll ever make. Narcissists feed off your reactions. They poke, prod, and provoke you just to watch you spiral. Every time you explain, argue, or beg, they win. But what happens when you don't react at all? Your silence, your calm, your indifference. That's their worst nightmare. When you refuse to play their emotional chess game, you're not just stepping out of their control, you're collapsing the entire system they've built on your insecurities. In today's video, I'll show you exactly how to shut down a narcissist without yelling, without revenge, just with your energy, your boundaries, and your awareness. This isn't about retaliation. This is about freedom. Stay with me to the end, because I'm going to share a simple, powerful technique that will help you reclaim your mental space starting today. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell icon, and share this video with someone who's ready to take their power back. It's time to go silent, but powerful. When you enter a relationship with someone who has narcissistic traits, you're not just stepping into a connection, you're stepping onto a psychological battlefield. The weapons are not fists, but emotional manipulation. The attacks don't come through shouting, but through sweet words followed by silent control. And in this battlefield, one of the most powerful strategies you can use to reclaim your sense of control is this: create distance, not just physical, but emotional and psychological. Narcissists tend to swing between two extremes. On one side, they're overwhelmingly sweet, charming, and intoxicatingly affectionate. On the other, they're cold, harsh, and emotionally brutal. They are like a pendulum, swinging left, then right, constantly throwing you off balance. And the truth is, they don't want you to be still. They want you reacting, adjusting, doubting yourself, dancing to the rhythm of emotions they dictate. Their goal is not love or connection, it's control. Every time you react with anger, sadness, or joy to their cues, you're feeding their sense of power. That's why creating distance isn't just an option, it's survival. When you step back, you don't just move away from them physically, you shift the dynamic. You move from being the one controlled to the one observing. You go from being the reactive victim to the one who sets the terms. And here's the beauty of it. You don't need to shout, argue, or explain. The moment you stop reacting the way they expect, you begin to regain your power. This distance isn't just avoidance, it's conscious detachment. It's the inner decision to withdraw just enough to protect yourself. From a distance, you begin to see them clearly, just like stepping back allows you to see the full picture. Emotional space lets you spot the patterns, the charm that was never genuine, the anger that wasn't justified, the subtle tactics designed to confuse and control. In that space, you begin to set boundaries, not with force, but with quiet consistency. You stop engaging in toxic conversations. You no longer chase after closure they'll never give. You respond to manipulation with neutrality. When they try to draw you in with compliments, you smile softly and reply with a neutral, "Thank you." When they turn aggressive, you don't argue. You calmly say, "I won't engage in this conversation," and walk away. This might confuse them. It might even anger them. But that's not your concern. Your concern is reclaiming your mental and emotional safety. Because in that moment, when they realize you're no longer reacting on cue, they lose their grip on you. They are forced to function within the boundaries you set. They can't push too far in either direction. The pendulum slows down. They can't love bomb you without you questioning their motives. They can't lash out without consequences. Even if their respect is superficial, it doesn't matter. You didn't aim to change them, you aimed to protect yourself. And that's the truth you need to hold on to. You can't change a narcissist. They don't change unless it benefits them. The more you try to fix them, the more you lose yourself. But if you're strong enough to pull away, emotionally grounded enough not to fall for their traps, you'll witness a transformation. Not in them, but in yourself. You stop living in reaction and start living in intention. This is why distance is a quiet form of power. It doesn't shout, it doesn't argue, but its impact is profound. You don't need a perfect relationship, you need a safe one. A relationship where you are not manipulated, not invaded, and above all, respected. So if you're feeling caught in the emotional chaos of someone who keeps shifting, try taking a step back. Not to run, but to observe. Not to give up, but to take back control. And from that distance, you'll finally see who's really in control here. But once you've created emotional distance, once you've stepped back and refused to play into their manipulative script, the next question is, what now? What happens once the silence begins? This is where the real shift in power begins. If there's anything a narcissist fears more than criticism or rejection, it's this: being met with silence. Not the silence of passive aggression or cold shoulders. They know how to play that game too. What terrifies them is the silence that comes from true detachment, when you stop reacting, stop engaging, and no longer exist as a source of emotional supply. Narcissists thrive on emotional chaos. They don't care if your emotions are positive or negative. As long as you're still reacting, they still have control. But when you choose silence, not as a punishment, but as a declaration of peace, they begin to fall apart. To them, silence doesn't just mean absence, it means irrelevance. And for a self-absorbed ego that survives on attention, irrelevance is unbearable. This silence is not about ignoring them out of spite or pretending to be fine while you're boiling inside. This is about true emotional withdrawal. You've unplugged your energy, emotions, and attention from their game. It's not silence out of fear, it's silence born of wisdom. And that's why this kind of silence hurts more than any words you could say. It doesn't just block manipulation, it forces them to face themselves, to sit with the emptiness, to hear only the echo of their own voice with no audience to perform for. When you go quiet, they may attempt a desperate hoover, pulling you back with fake apologies, manufactured vulnerability, or sudden bursts of rage. Don't confuse this with realization or regret. It's not that they finally see your worth, it's that they're panicking because their control is slipping. Remember, your silence is not punishment, it is protection. You're not going quiet to teach them a lesson, you're going quiet because you've learned yours. You no longer owe them a reaction, you no longer owe them access to your mind, your heart, or your healing. And as you remain grounded in this silent power, you'll begin to notice something liberating. You're no longer part of their game, and when you stop playing, they stop winning. So if you've come this far, if you've created the distance and started protecting your peace, keep going. Let your silence speak louder than any explanation ever could. Let your boundaries be your voice. And let the emptiness you leave behind remind them that they were never the source of your worth, only the illusion of it. Because the moment you stop chasing closure and start choosing yourself, is the moment they lose control forever. And once you've chosen silence, not out of resignation, but because you're wise enough to know it's the most powerful move, you'll come to a realization: silence alone is not enough. Because you're now standing at a pivotal point, silence opens the door, but boundaries keep it closed. You can't just fade into the background and hope everything resolves itself. You need to construct a clear, steadfast line of defense. This is your personal boundary. But let me be clear, this isn't about standing in front of them and proclaiming, "Respect my boundaries or else." A boundary isn't a public announcement or a mantra you repeat endlessly. It's every choice you make, even the choice not to react, expressed through how you live and how you respond. Your boundaries show in choosing to use your phone at your discretion, not responding to midnight messages aimed at drawing you back in. They show in your calm, "I don't want to discuss this," when the conversation is clearly tipped toward manipulation. They show in your decision to skip social events that would undermine your dignity. You go alone, if at all, without needing an explanation. That silence speaks volumes. I deserve respect. I don't owe anyone my approval. I'm here to live my own life, not to please you. Building personal boundaries isn't about changing them. You can't change a narcissist. It's about protecting yourself. By holding firm to your boundaries, you make it absolutely clear. You are not their prey, and you will not be stolen from. Set your limits. If they cross into controlling language or excessive affection, quietly withdraw. Let them test those lines through sweet talk, anger, or emotional withdrawal. If you remain unshakable, they won't advance, not because they respect you, but because they know you're no longer a convenient weakness. Boundaries don't need fanfare, but they do require consistency. And that consistency will break their game and force them to play within confines you design. Conversations become less dramatic, the emotional landscape clears, and most importantly, you no longer ride the emotional roller coaster they set in motion. Here's an example. When they reach out with honeyed words, you respond politely, but keep your emotional distance. When someone promises they'll do better, remember that promises are cheap, you watch for action. If they lash out, you walk away. No drama, no defense. You remain serene and unwavering. You become a fortress, unbreakable, unmoved. And by doing so, you assert a powerful message. I can live without your control. You cannot make me lose myself. From here on, your relationship, if it continues, no longer traps you in a cycle of sweetness and pain. It may evolve or end, but it will no longer destabilize your peace. You decide the term. Establishing personal boundaries is your final metamorphosis, from someone who was once manipulated to someone who now holds that power, grounded in inner peace. When you uphold your boundaries, you are no longer seeking perfection in a relationship, you're honoring your emotional safety. And that is worth more than any explanation, apology, or chance at reconciliation. And once you've held that silence long enough and firmly established your personal boundaries, you'll recognize just how far you've come. Yet the journey isn't over. Now you possess a crucial tool, a profound understanding of their true nature. If you only maintain distance and don't react, they'll believe they're still in control. But once you start wielding their own traits against them, you shift from being passive to being in command. Now is the moment to use their own weapons to defend yourself. First, remember that narcissists crave attention and control. They rely on your emotional reactions to stay alive. And the biggest weakness they have is their vulnerability to being rendered irrelevant. So turn their constant need for attention into a trap. Specifically, when they raise their voice or control the conversation, instead of reacting with anger, you can gently and subtly erase their claimed authority. Say something like, "You're only saying that to prove you're right, in which case, I don't want to play that game." Or, "Yeah, if that's really an issue, I'll address it when I have time." You don't need to fight back with the same intensity. Instead, use calm confidence and strategic nonchalance to show them that their efforts to assert control while you're not reacting are meaningless. Second, they love praise and flattery above everything, but you can use praise to set a soft trap. For instance, when they begin to love bomb you, you can respond casually, "Yeah, you're right. You're amazing." Then calmly walk away to focus on something else. This shows them that even praise won't buy your reaction, and that starves their emotional fuel. Third, their aggression stems from fear of losing control. When they shout or lash out, don't react emotionally. Instead, disrupt their narrative with a simple, unremarkable action. Slowly set your phone down, or offer them a seat, or casually shift the conversation to something unrelated. Such a break in their expected script often throws them psychologically off balance, because you're not engaging according to their expectations. Fourth, narcissists are highly fragile when confronted with cold, objective truth. They hate those who won't flatter them or react dramatically. If you employ calm, intellectual honesty, For example, a phrase like, "You have your own goals, I have mine," you bypass drama. Even if they scoff or walk away, they'll be haunted by the thought, "Why did she even bother to let me upset her?" That lingering question seeds their confusion. Fifth, narcissists are easily triggered by competition. They always want to stand out, to one-up others. You can subtly use this to your advantage, triggering their need to compare. For example, when they brag for hours about their achievements, you respond casually, "That's great, but I'm focusing on something else." They'll feel compelled to prove themselves again, believing you're slipping away. That fear of being left behind becomes your tool. Picture this scenario. They begin bragging about a successful project. If you pick an argument, you'll end up blamed or manipulated. Instead, try saying, interesting, but I've got some other important stuff to do." Just listening, neutral, no praise, no rebuttal, just calm detachment. They get attention but not control. They begin to doubt their influence. In another scenario, they lash out at you angrily. They seek a reaction. You respond softly. "I hurt you. If you want to continue, I'm stepping away. We can talk once we're both calmer." No arguments, no defenses. They're left suspended in a reactionless moment, which unsettles them deeply. Using a narcissist's own traits against them isn't manipulation, it's intelligence. You keep your insights into their nature while refusing to escape. Now you counter with nuance and proactive calmness. When you've mastered silence, distance, and firm boundaries, it's time to employ emptiness to render their words meaningless. Use detachment to turn their anger into jest. Leverage neutral yet precise speech to strip their emotional dominance. What the narcissist fears most isn't a strong reaction, it's your refusal to react by their rules. That's when they lose their footing. And now, once you've created that emotional distance, firmly set personal boundaries and held your silence long enough that they no longer control you, the next skill to master is responding with calm agreement, a sharp, intelligent response. This isn't passive surrender but a strategic form of resistance. Instead of letting criticism hijack your emotional landscape, you gently neutralize it and force them to question their own power. In a narcissist's psychological labyrinth, every bit of criticism is a weapon loaded with intention, sharpened to aim directly at your weakest vulnerabilities for the sake of dominance. They thrive on conflict and emotional reaction, hoping your anger, fear, or doubt will fuel their control. But remember, no matter how cutting their words, they are merely projections, mirrors of their own inner distortions and insecurities. You are neither their emotional trash can nor their reflection. You don't owe them your suffering. Instead, you hold the right to choose how to respond, sometimes with a measured, subtly commanding agreement. For instance, when they belittle your achievements, instead of reacting defensively, you reply, "You're right. Perhaps I still have room to grow." These kind of understated acceptance diffuses their intent. There's no confrontation, no drama. It disarms them by showing their arrows missed the mark. However, the gentle agreement method doesn't apply in every situation. If their comments cross the line into outright disrespect or insult, you'll need to respond more assertively while staying composed. "You're entitled to your view, but this is my path and I know my worth." No apologies, no justification, yet firm enough to hold your ground with dignity. Think of your mind as a tranquil garden. Their criticism is a tainted seed. If you plant it, it will sprout and rob your peace. But when you diffuse it with calm acknowledgement, you are actually planting seeds of resilience, self-respect, and clarity. You are the keeper of your own value. Refuse to let their words erode your dignity. With your calmer, wiser responses, you're training yourself to respond, not react to their provocations. They attempt to bait you into self-blame and emotional chaos. But if you instead say, "Maybe you're only mocking because you fear me doing better than you," you subtly turn the blow into irony, leaving them speechless. That is a quiet but powerful victory. When you consistently respond this way, sometimes with humility, sometimes with resolute self-assurance, you break their emotional patterns. Their attacks no longer hit. They may drift away, realizing their tactics no longer work, not with a grand confrontation, but through your calm and unwavering demeanor. You don't just survive their verbal attacks, you rewrite your internal defenses. You reclaim your emotional space and neutralize their control with intelligence and composure. Once you've mastered responding with calmness, established strong personal boundaries, and employed thoughtful replies, it's time to elevate your strategy with a powerful psychological tool, emotional mirroring. This isn't a childish mind game. It's an intelligent tactic that lets you regain control by holding up a mirror to them. Instead of reacting out of anger, you intentionally pick up their attacking words, imposing tone or flashes of anger, and reflect them back slowly, calmly, and deliberately. If they issue a sarcastic comment or a commanding tone, mimic it with a controlled yet accurate reflection. You said I should understand this and not argue. Okay, I understand. You add nothing, you subtract nothing. Your calmness disrupts their script and leaves them momentarily stunned. When they explode with fury, "Why did you do that? I've had enough," you calmly repeat, "You're angry right now, aren't you?" No accusation, no justification, just a mirror reflecting back their emotion, prompting them to recognize it themselves. If they accuse you of always being wrong, you hit them with a gentle question. Wrong about what? What did you expect me to do? That quiet challenge forces them to clarify or admit there's no substance behind their sweeping judgment. Even when they weaponize personal stories to guilt you, "You never really care about me," you reflect it gently. "You feel uncared for. Let me show you with my actions." That subtly shifts the emotional balance back to you, refusing their manipulation. Mirroring doesn't condemn them, it simply forces them to face their own emotions and logic. When they can't reel you into their trap, they lose ground. This approach requires restraint and composure. Don't slap labels like narcissist or manipulator. Just act as an impartial mirror. Use it only when you sense manipulation, not when they're sincere. Here's a specific example. They criticize your work. "This is worthless." Instead of reacting, you reply, "You think so? Got it, but I'm trying a different method." Your calm conviction halts their attack and maintains your dignity. Or they say, "You're using me." You respond, "Using me? Please clarify what you mean." You turn the tables with a question, forcing them to provide specifics before they can continue controlling the narrative. Used correctly, mirroring allows you to quash their emotional overtures without mirroring their negativity. Instead, you fill the silence with poise and logic, leaving them disarmed. The ultimate goal isn't to win an argument. It's to compel them to confront themselves. They may stumble, "Why are you echoing me?" And while they search for an answer, you regain your energy, your calm, and control over the dynamic. This move, mirroring, is more powerful than silence or boundaries alone. It forces them to stop, recalibrate, or move on. You're no longer stuck in their emotional labyrinth. You step out calmly, intact. And that's the truth no one tells you. You don't need to scream, argue, or suffer to prove anything. When dealing with a narcissist, your silence, your calm, and your ability to see through their game, that's the most powerful strike of all. When you learn to manage your emotions, set firm boundaries, respond with clarity, and mirror their behavior intelligently, you're not just protecting yourself, you're reclaiming control over your life. Remember this, you are not responsible for healing the person who hurt you. You don't need their apology, explanation, or closure. You are the closure. Your awareness is the end of their manipulation cycle. If this video resonated with you, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any future content designed to help you rebuild your strength and self-worth after narcissistic abuse. And if you know someone struggling in a toxic relationship, share this video because everyone deserves to live in safety, peace, and dignity. Thank you for watching all the way through. You are not alone. You are powerful. And you deserve to be loved the right way.